Thanks to HubSpot for sponsoring today's video.
Okay, so I know you think being consistent on Instagram is impossible, but I promise you, you can do it. You just need the right routine. And today, I thought I would show you mine. For the past several weeks, I've been in the routine of posting about 4 times per week on Instagram. I know that might not sound like a lot compared to the 15 posts per day that you hear from some gurus on YouTube, but these are 4 pieces of intentional and strategic content that align with my brand and my current goals. And in fact, the way I've been posting lately has allowed me to get out of a bit of a growth rut and finally hit 200,000 followers over on Instagram. But I think most importantly, this posting schedule has also allowed me to maintain some work-life balance. And in fact, I kind of have a bit of a weird schedule for the past 3 months. I've been road tripping through Scotland in my camper van. So I usually spend about 50% of my time exploring and 50% of my time working on my laptop. I'm actually currently in an Airbnb in London though, because I am going to be heading home to Canada in just a few short days. But I wanted to show you the content planning routine that I've been using on a weekly basis throughout my travels to stay consistent and grow on Instagram while still also having a life. So today is actually gonna be part 1 of my series where I'm gonna take you behind the scenes of my Instagram content creation workflow. And we're focusing specifically on planning content, how I consistently come up with ideas to stay consistent and to actually grow. So I'm gonna take you along with me and hopefully we'll have some Instagram content planned by the end of it. So let's get started. Okay, so the very first step in this process is to select the formats that we're gonna use for our content this week. I have personally found that the best way to do this is by using a format menu. Just like options of food at a restaurant, this is a list of options of different formats of short form content that you can create. It's basically the packaging that the content is going to go into, and we'll worry about like the subject matter of that content in just a few minutes. So here's a look at my format menu. We've got voiceover vlog, a chat to camera video, a tutorial, or a trend. These are just 4 formats that I have found work pretty well with my audience. You could definitely have some other options on your format menu like get ready with me or green screen videos or different types of carousels. I find it's helpful to have a format menu like this because it provides creative constraints. It might seem counterintuitive, but it's actually really helpful to your creativity to have some boundaries around what you're going to create. If you just tell yourself to come up with Instagram ideas, that is so broad and open-ended, it's really hard to even start. But if you tell yourself, okay, I need to come up with a voiceover vlog, it gets you started down a path, which is just way easier than, starting from a blank page. So for this coming week, I think we'll do 2 trend videos. I definitely want to do 1 voiceover vlog and 1 carousel as well. So as for the strategy of how I'm selecting these formats, one consideration is just variety. I haven't done a voiceover vlog in a while, so I want to do one again. Another consideration is ideas that I already have floating around, which we're going to talk about in just a second, but I have a couple things in the back of my mind that I think would work well as trend or like text on B-roll format videos. So I want to make sure I add those to my calendar so I can make use of those ideas.
Katie from the future here to interrupt myself very briefly, because I wanted to let you know that if you want to schedule your content in a structured format similar to how I do, then you should check out HubSpot's free social media content calendar template. It's a completely free resource that helps you plan your content strategically month by month. It basically covers every platform: Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, LinkedIn. So no matter which or how many of those you use, it's got you covered. All you need to do to get started is add it to your Google Drive or download it as a spreadsheet if you prefer. Then you can pick the platform and content type, write the caption, and if it's sponsored, you can track those details as well. The template even helps you track your engagement rate over time, which is super helpful when it comes to pitching for those brand deals. My personal favorite part is this calendar view because it helps you keep track of all your planned content across formats. As I mentioned, this free guide was developed by HubSpot, who's sponsoring today's video, and you can get it for yourself for free using the link in my description.
The second step is to choose a goal or a focus for the week. Now, admittedly, you could definitely do this first. In fact, a lot of the steps in this process, you could kind of scramble them around and do them in different orders. I find it helpful to start with picking the formats because it provides those creative constraints. With those formats or that packaging in mind, now we're going to come up with what our goal is, the cohesive theme or the purpose behind the content that we're making. Some examples might be promoting your affiliate links, growing your email list, selling your digital products, getting people to watch your YouTube videos or listen to your podcast. There's lots of different results that you can get it if you craft your Instagram content strategically. So just consider what you might want that to be. Other than that, you might just be aiming for audience growth, and that's totally valid too. So I think for myself, I want my content for this week to generate new email list subscribers. Honestly, I know this is something that I can neglect, and I have been neglecting for a long time, but it's actually like so easy to connect it into a lot of content, you know, basically telling people about like my free offers that will get them onto my email list, or even like promoting my weekly creator letter, which I send out every Monday. So this is going to be my personal guiding principle for the content that I'm going to plan today. Remember, just because you're setting an overall goal for your content doesn't mean that everything needs to feel like it's out of a marketing campaign. The goal tie-in can be as simple as making the caption of your reel a call to action to joining your email list. I personally think it's really important that we don't let strategy take out all the fun of content creation, partially because that's why most of us got started in the first place, but also because I think that's really where the magic and authenticity comes into play and what makes people actually like consuming your content. So it's always a fine balance, right? Having some strategy, an overarching purpose to what you're making so that you can work towards your business goals, while at the same time leaving things open-ended enough that you can really let your creativity shine. So yeah, don't let the goal setting like take over, but just something good to keep in mind. The next step is to reference our existing list of ideas, which admittedly is a bit of a cheat code, I know. But this is part of my regular practice as a content creator. I just keep an active note in my notes app on my phone where I add ideas as I come across stuff when I'm scrolling, or something just pops into my mind, or shower thoughts or whatever. Okay, but I get that just like telling you to look at your previous list of ideas is not super helpful. So while I am gonna do that, I did wanna share some tips with you in case you're starting from scratch and you need some guidance for coming up with your first ideas. Okay, so here are a few things you can do. One thing is set yourself some limited scroll time. Set a timer for like 15 or 20 minutes and scroll through your Instagram Reels feed or even your TikTok For You page, intentionally looking for content inspiration. You might want to keep an eye out for audios that you're seeing again and again, or formats that seem to be going viral right now. Like if everybody's using the same structure of a meme, maybe you could find a way to use that too. Second thing you can do is to scroll through your recent comments or DMs, keeping an eye out for frequently asked questions or common themes that just pop up again and again. That's a good indication of content that your audience would be interested in seeing. And the third thing that I would recommend you do is look back through your past content and see what has performed the best for you. Now, depending on that goal that we were just talking about, what the best is might change. If your main goal is audience growth and reach, then of course you can look and see what reels got the most views. However, remember that a lot of reach doesn't necessarily equal audience growth. So if you're specifically looking to gain followers, what you might want to do is go into your Instagram Insights, go to the professional dashboard, tap into content you shared. Let's maybe look at like the last 3 months to get a broader sense of it. Then you can change your filter for the metric to be follows instead of views. I recommend leaving it as sort by highest and then tap apply. Now we can actually see the content that generated the most followers for me, not just the most views. So I'm going to take a look at this content and think, why do I think that it generated more followers for me? And how can I use that same strategy in the content that I'm coming up with for this new week? So in this next step, we get to play matchup. We're gonna connect the ideas that we came up with to the formats that we chose earlier. Now, I'll be honest with you, normally I would just do this in my head or on my computer, but I wanted to make this really clear because I honestly feel like if you can understand how to strategically mix and match the ideas that you have for content with the way that you package those ideas, I think that's like a superpower for content creators. Oftentimes we have one idea, we share it in one way, and then we kind of just let it go and try to move on to coming up with something new. There's actually so much potential in each idea to package it in multiple different ways. So let me give you a real life example of this. After I made a video about how to write better voiceovers and that performed so well for me, I wanted to do more content about voiceover tips. So I had the idea to share 5 different voiceover prompts to give you a starting point for like writing your voiceover. And I ended up making 2 pieces of content out of the same idea. One was a carousel where I put each prompt on a different slide, and the other was a trending reel where I had the prompts listed in the caption. So you can see how this is the exact same subject matter. I've just packaged it in 2 different ways. You'll get way more out of each individual idea if you start approaching it like that. I've written down the ideas that I came up with through scrolling, through just like writing down my shower thoughts throughout the week. And what I also have here are the different formats from my format menu. When you realize that you can take one idea and match it up with several different formats and create basically 4 pieces of content out of one idea, that is such a hack for consistency without so much effort and stress. especially when it comes to getting inspo from content that we see online. I think the best magic happens when you see something creative that somebody else made, and not only do you put your own spin on it, your own unique take, but you also do it in a slightly different format or packaging. So one example I would say for this is I had seen this trend going around on Reels that was like, I'm not scared of aging because this is what my mom looks like at 50. And the trend in this case was a video of basically showing off how young and hot your mom still looks, how like she still looks like she's 25. That was the inspiration for this post that I made, that first of all, I did as a carousel rather than a reel. So I changed the format or the packaging, but I also had my own fresh take on it, which was, guys, why do we care so much about whether or not our mom has wrinkles or gray hair? There's so much more to life than our appearance. And so that's what I was trying to highlight with that carousel. So that's where I took the inspiration. Not only did I put my own perspective on it, but I also put it in new packaging. Okay, so let's do that with the ideas that I came up with this week. Okay, starting with the best phone tripod. Basically, I got this new mount for my tripod, which is like a MagSafe adapter. I was raving to Dan about how much I love this thing, and he was like, you should make a reel about that. So for example, I could do this one as a tutorial, right? I could kind of demonstrate setting it up, all the different features that it has. And I may do that at some future point, but I think for this week, I would like to do it as a trend kind of video. Basically what I mean by that is just showing B-roll of me like setting up the tripod, my phone magneting to the mount, probably with some text on screen that's something like POV, you found the best tripod for creators, or I'll come up with something better than that, but that's the concept. Another one that I think is gonna go in the trend category here, I wanted to talk about the fact that unfortunately, consistency does work for content creators. I was inspired by this reel, though I know many take this format, basically saying, yeah, you know that thing that we all know that we kind of need to do, it's annoying, but yeah, unfortunately, it does really work. Next up, I thought I would talk about whether or not van life is worth it. I feel like a lot of people have a lot of opinions about traveling, doing van life. Is it really as glamorous as it seems? And recently I was talking to some van life friends of mine, and we were discussing how van life is really a trade-off between like comfort and freedom. And I thought that was a really interesting concept. So I kind of wanted to talk about that in a reel. I could do this as a little chat to camera where I'm, just discussing this stuff FaceTime style. But I think it would be much more effective as a voiceover vlog. I have so much B-roll from my time traveling in the van, and I want to make use of it. So I'm going to write a voiceover script and then basically put it over all of the cutesy B-roll that I captured. And finally, we have this concept, which is, I really think we need to rebrand trying and make trying cool, because a lot of people see trying as being cringy. Like basically if you're doing something but you're not good at it yet, it's like cringe. I think it's very cool. I think it's very admirable. And I think this is very relevant to my audience of content creators. So I could do this as a little voiceover vlog, a script over top of clips of me doing creatory stuff. I could do this as a chat to camera, or even maybe I'm like getting ready and doing my makeup or making a coffee and talking about this. I think what I actually want to do, and I don't have this format here right now, but I think I'm gonna do it as a carousel. Carousels have been performing really well for me lately. Like they're actually getting more views than my reels have been, which is kind of crazy. And I kind of want to try out this format of carousel where you have like a little screenshot of like basically text bubbles over top of pictures. So yeah, hopefully you're able to see how any of these ideas could be matched up with these different packages. I'm just choosing to take this approach because, I feel like it this week, and for the other reasoning I've shared. But if there's one message you take away from this video, I want you to know that you could take this one concept and pair it up with any of these formats, and it just unlocks the door to so much more content that really makes the most of those ideas that you're having. Rather than just throwing them away off of one format one time, you can reuse it and reach more people, and reach people in different ways, because everybody has their format preferences, right? All right, we have reached the final step in the process. I would personally say that the most difficult work is behind us, because I feel like we've got some momentum at this stage. I'm gonna script and outline this content, because basically when I actually go ahead and set up and film, I want to be able to do it in the most efficient way possible. I don't want to be thinking about, well, what should I say? And what was my idea about that? I'm going to write out the scripts for the voiceovers. So then basically I'm ready to go. Okay, so I've got some of my scripts written, and this time around I just have like the one voiceover and then the trend one. So it's actually not a ton of writing, but I thought I would show you quickly what I like kind of format these like. This one's quite straightforward. It's literally just the text, like the script of the voiceover, and then I'm gonna go through my B-roll library and pick out some clips of like van life and travel that I think will work well with what I'm saying. I also wanted to show you a script from a reel I did a few weeks ago to give you a better example when I'm like planning out more of the visuals. Here's a look at a tutorial that I did a few weeks back about how to make your footage less shaky without using a gimbal. This also gives you a good sense of what this looks like filled out in Notion. So you can see like I typed the caption into this form here because it's so easy to just copy it and then put it into my Instagram caption. But yeah, here's what the script looks like. So you see I have the text all down the left-hand column, and then on the right-hand column I have my visuals. They're just descriptions of the clips that I wanted to get that would explain what I'm talking about in the script. So there we go. That is another week of content planned. All that's left to do is film and edit and write the captions. Obviously, there is still quite a bit of work left to do, but I am planning to bring you along with me for that. So make sure you're subscribed because next week I'm planning to show you my process for batch filming reels. So you won't want to miss that. I hope you're having adventures and following your dreams, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.